Hello, everyone. So, welcome to the special early evening rendition of Serious and Sober. Oh my goodness, I just drank water just before going in, and I just had to do that thing that your body requires to do. So, just showing my humanity, I guess, because sex appeal, it's what we're all about. Anyway, I'm talking about things. And it's not ADHD for some reason. So, speaking of, our guest does have ADHD. So there we go. We can circle back to what I'm supposed to be talking about. Hi, welcome to Serious and Sober, and I'm gonna quickly explain why we're here at 5 o'clock instead of our usual 8 p.m. time, and that's because I overbooked myself and am kind of bad at planning. So I booked a show at Wednesday o'clock, thinking that it was on a Saturday because I know how calendars work. And I decided that we would do a pre-recorded, and then I would be able to try out Patreon and try all these new different elements to try. I was going to edit the show and everything. I was going to give you something that a new experience. And then it didn't record properly because my internet kept cutting out. So we did do this internet. I have new internet, but we did do this interview already. And honestly, when I rewatched it, all the interesting parts just cut out. And trust me, you are grateful that we're doing this again, is what I mean. And now we are going to actually guest in. What? You don't have to just deal with me? I know, you're so lucky. So we are going to bring in Brad McLeod, who is our guest to tell us about his life and his journey. And it's, I knew going into it that it was an interesting story. And actually, after hearing more of the story, I stand by that statement. Hello.
There's an old Chinese curse that said, "May you live in interesting times." I discovered that.
You lived it. You put it just.
Yes, I did.
Amazing. So, how are you?
Pretty good. Getting ready for lockdown again. Yay.
Yeah. Everyone, upgrade your internet.
Really?
When I first was streaming, my internet was really bad, so I had to upgrade my internet data, and I was just doing that because that was easier because renting. So,
Yep.
And then I was staying with my girlfriend for 2 months, and she had amazing internet, and I was spoiled because it was crazy. Like, I would go to do something and it would just work. I never. Now I'm back home with my shit internet, and you experienced it, or I guess the lack of you experienced it. It was awful.
Yeah, it was fun on this side too, trying to fill in times and whatnot. But technology.
And it was all for naught.
Well, we're back.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm feeling confident that even though sometimes people fear when you're recreating something that it won't be as genuine the second time around, but I think that through ourselves and our own experience, we're going to be able to tell an even better version of this, because I'm just feeling optimistic. And I was also still recovering from a concussion on Sunday, so Yeah, did I not tell you about that? Oh my goodness, I've told everyone about it because it sucks. But did I? Okay, I did. Yeah, I wanted. I have my stupid icebreaker from this one because I forgot to write a new one, and I already said it, so I'm gonna just say it again. I'm reusing my icebreaker. I'm here today with Brad McLeod. Did I tell you that's my grandmother's maiden name?
Yes, there are a lot of us.
Yeah. It's actually... Sorry?
Speaking of sex appeal, it's a McLeod thing.
Yeah, that's probably why there's so many. Oh my goodness. It was like a joke in my high school that it was just like if I didn't know someone, they would end up being my cousin, because that actually would happen. I
Oh
would meet
God.
one, and then I would be like, "What's your last name?" "Oh, is your mom married to this person who's married to this person who divorced this person back in '86? You're my cousin." I love family gossip, and mine is filled with it.
So
But
is
we're
mine.
talking about my family. We're here to talk about your family. Oh my goodness. So we have so much that I want to cover and talk. And I don't know, let's go back in the beginning, because when we did this last time, I found that the timeline was a good structure. So let's go to building a timeline. Let's go to the beginning.
Okay. My parents split when I was really young, about 3. And pertinent information, I guess. My mom was dating a guy I thought was my father, whose name was Morgan. I never met my father until I was about 7 or 8, something like that. And my mom was dating a guy named Morgan, who was sweet as can be. He passed away, I must have been 4 or 5. But then my mom met a guy named Bob, and that's when all the fun began, so to speak. Physical abuse, sexual abuse, mental, what sure turned out to be emotional. Yeah, a lot of drinking and drugs were done in the family, and that turned me into, if I wasn't a sex toy, I was a punching bag.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's the start.
I think I need to take this moment to do a trigger warning for the audience, because I forgot to. My bad. So we're talking about some heavy things, including child abuse, child sex abuse, and drug abuse. And did I miss any abuse?
An abusive situation. There it is.
Yeah. But yeah, this episode, it's going to be a heavy one, and yeah, buckle up. Let's continue.
It's going to be a bumpy ride.
Yeah, let's when it came to the abuse that you experienced, what would you say? How would you say it started? Was it just kind of came in and that was how things were, or was it a slow development?
Damn, I've never been asked that one before. How it started? I truthfully, I was either too young or I blocked it out. I don't really remember.
Okay, yeah,
I just remember it was like there, like as far back as my memories go. That's 40 years ago, so as far back as my memories go, it's just there. I mean, my earlier situation was my mom being passed out drunk, and Bob wasn't getting any from her, so came to see me. I was a tight little boy. And that's like, it's just how it began. And if it wasn't that, it was a drunken fight that if they get into fights and if they couldn't hit each other, like if she walked out or if he walked out, I got my ass whipped. I was punching, like I said, if it wasn't a sex toy, I was a punching bag.
Was it by
hundreds of memories of details, but yeah, it was that's how it started.
Yeah,
that's how the whole debacle started.
Yeah. When it comes to like your relationship with your childhood, what is when you try to think of a good experience, what's something that comes to mind?
Wasn't much with my family. However, probably the earliest good memories I had were of an ironic person befriending the local pedophile, if you will. The story behind that is an interesting one. I was playing video games. I'd steal money from my mom and go down and play video games and buy penny sour candy. I don't know if anybody remembers those. It was amazing. It was like the sour soothers, but they were like that big, and they were a penny each. So like a dollar gave you 100 candies. It was awesome. And I'd go down to this video arcade where I met this kid, 15, 14, something like that. And he asked me if I wanted to hang out, and I was like, sure, I always want to hang out. I want to do something other than be at home. And he brought me to this guy's place, and he was an older gentleman. I'd say in his 50s easily. Who's also named Bob. I've got this thing of Bob's here. And he turned out to have a mass of kids that were inappropriate. He was straight up what we would call a pedophile. Why it was a good thing, why it was a positive memory for me, is because sex was something that I'm 7, 8 years old. I don't know what's going on is bad. It's just something that's happening. Sex is just something that you did with an older dude. And with him, it started, and I didn't feel bad about it. I felt almost empowered because I was able to say no. I was able to not get my ass beat if I tried to resist. I was able to dictate, if you will, the terms of a situation. So that's probably the positive part of like the first 12 years of my life.
Yeah. Last time we discussed this, you were speaking about some of the other experiences you had that weren't just sexual, how you were just kind of accepted into a social group. Would you like to talk about that community a bit more?
Yeah, it was like him and we were just a bunch of friends. I remember we'd go out into a van, and he had a van. It wasn't a rape van, it was a minivan. And like I make a joke, people laughed. I was a kid. I was a kid again. I wasn't an object. I was a kid with these people. And I remember going out and driving around, like going to get ice cream or going to get pizza and shit. It was accepted. I was accepted. Like I said, I wasn't an object or a toy. I was me. I was a person.
Yeah, it's like they saw your vulnerability and the fact that like you were alone, and that they were able to bring you in and show you what they needed from you, and they were able to like balance your trauma with their pleasure in a way that was gratifying to you at the time.
I suppose. That's what I always just thought it was, and it's a weird, ironic way to still think about it. It was my first circle of friends. Yeah, I've always been with some weird people.
Yeah. At what point in your life would you say that you started like a second group of friends, that because you said that you've run in different circles? Tell me about some more.
All right. I must have been. When I got into high school is when I guess I had my second real circle of friends. There was a group of us, and like this at this point in time, I'm heavily into drugs already. I was dealing cocaine to the football team. And if you ever wonder why Barton Secondary School had a win streak of like 7 years, about 4 years, get a bunch of jocks hooked up on cocaine. And we were miscreants, but we weren't horrible. We didn't destroy anything personal. Like we didn't break into houses or anything like that. But God forbid if there was just some random thing on the street, we'd blow that up. Yeah, then it was after the sex thing. Sorry,
blow it up.
Oh yeah, we blew up many things. Fire and gasoline were fun when you're 14 and destructive.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had regular friends, regular relationships after that. The abuse stopped when I was about 12. God, that just brought back a memory. I'm sure we'll get into that one.
Do you want to share it?
I remember I have a younger sister who's 11 and a half years younger than me. This was from another guy. Bob died. My mom met another person who was the first person I actually really accepted as my dad. He was the guy who took me to baseball, and all the abuse stopped. Well, the sexual abuse had stopped. He was still a raging alcoholic drunk who kicked my ass, but he was making a man out of me. But so I had my sister who was 11 and a half years younger than me. And I remember vividly actually grabbing, I don't remember when or the context of this, but I had my mom by the face and I said to her, if what happens to me happens to her, I'll kill you. And I said it with like dead. My mom always refused to acknowledge anything that happened. The best she ever said was like, I admit I wasn't great. Like, no, you weren't fucking great. You were a fucking rapist, you bitch.
Yeah.
And so there was that. I forgot what the whole other thing that memory just went and threw every other talking point I had out of my head. That was when I think everything really stopped and all the sexual abuse stopped.
When you stood up to your mom?
Yeah. When I made her acknowledge what happened, I guess, would be the best way to do it. I never stood up to my mom. My mom was begging me, she beat me up, and I was afraid of her. Like any, kid, it's my mom, she's going to whip my ass. Yeah. But there was that moment where my protectiveness of my sister meant more to me than anything else in the world. Like my sister she was born fetal alcohol syndrome, Down syndrome. She was a slow kid, and I've always had an affinity towards mentally handicapped people. When I was like grade 3, 4, and 5, my reward for doing work or doing well in class was to go down to the special ed. Sorry for not being PC about this, but I'm going back to like 1982. Going down to the special education class and helping out the kids with Down syndrome. That's why I learned sign language for the first time. So I've always had an affinity for helping out people and befriending people like that. Oh God, I'm so un-PC. And when my sister was born and we discovered that she had a lot of mental handicaps, mental disabilities, the brotherly protectiveness kicked in more importantly than being afraid of my mom. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We never talked about my sister in the last one.
Yeah. New to me.
Or my various amount of siblings.
Yeah. I don't even think we got to stepfather number 3 last time. No. I failed at that timeline.
It was there's so much to unpack that this time around we'll discuss everything, and the next time you ask a question, there'll be something else to unpack. It was a very, very packed. I didn't have anything boring.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's when that stops. And where were we going with that? Group of friends getting. I don't remember.
Yeah, I was talking about positive experiences that you have had that were connected to your childhood, and then I asked about other groups of friends that you've had, because you said that you've run with pretty weird crowds.
Yeah, circles of friends ranged from pedophiles to drug addicts, miscreants to homeless people to actors to nerds to my friends now. Big conglomeration of all.
Yeah, I was gonna ask. Like, there's probably a lot of intersectionality in those because,
well, one usually led to the other, right?
Yeah. I remember you mentioning that the pedophile ring was what brought you to the drug world. Do you want to talk about that connection?
I started smoking cigarettes and weed when I was 9 because they were there. And they offered it to me, and I accepted because that's what was going on, and that's what started me down the whole rabbit hole. So, I was 9 years old when I started smoking weed and following the drug line. When I was about 11, I had a friend whose uncle asked me if I wanted to make some money. Do you want to make $100, kid? I was this bright blue. I was Aryan in every sense of the word, like bright blue eyes, young, pale kid, almost white blonde hair growing up. So I was this kid that no one saw as a problem because I looked perfect. And you want to make $100? Of course, I want to make $100. I'm 11. Who doesn't want to make $100? 11. Take this bag, go to this address, get some money, come back here. I'll give you $100. Okay, sure. And that's how I started getting into harder drugs, because turned out I was being a mule for a while. And then it turned into someone doing lines in front of me, and I'm about 11. You want some? Of course I do. Looks like fun. And that's what got me into the harder drugs. And then from there, it all went downhill.
What was that downhill like? So we have you living with your parents?
No. I both ran away when I was 12. I was living on the streets. So I got my first apartment when I was 14. And I was couch surfing for the better part of a year and a half. So at this point, I was living with my parents, my mom, and by the time I was 12, moved out, I was sleeping on people's couches or in basements, whatever, just crashing at friends' places. It was weird to be homeless at 12. But I was making money, which was cool. And that's how I got my first apartment. So after I was making enough money that at 14, I didn't have a job, but I was paying rent. Rent, by the way, when I was 12, oh my God. And the downhill from there, I thought it was awesome. I was living my best life, man. There was money, there was drugs, there were friends, there were sexual encounters. I was doing great. I put myself through high school at that point. Like, I was still going to school, for better or for worse. Sometimes in worse condition. And and it just got more and more and more. And it got to the point I was about 16, 17. It got to the point where anything someone handed me, I was either going to put in my arm or up my nose. Metaphorically speaking, because I did a lot of stuff. I don't have a lot of track marks on my arms because I did a lot like between my fingers and my feet and whatnot. Because I wasn't that dumb. I wasn't gonna like look like a junkie. I thought I was working the system, so to speak. And it just led down to even worse people and bad people. And I thought I was having the time of my life. As here I was, 17. I had mad cash and people at my beck and call. I had women when I wanted it. Yeah. I was a popular one.
So you're living your best life. What changed?
My daughter was born. Literally what changed my life. I always thought I was going to be dead by 20. There was no way someone like me was going to live. I was conscious about everything. I was smart enough to realize that what I'm doing is destructive. And I am going to James Dean, and I'm going to die young, leave a gorgeous corpse. But I was dating a girl who was upper middle class. She was absolutely gorgeous. And I was the bad boy. And got her pregnant. Oops. Okay. I guess I'm going to do this now. I'm not one to shirk my responsibilities. I'm not like, oh, fuck off. It's like, okay, well, looks like I'm going to be a dad now. So I'm going to do this and be a dad. Okay, cool. My daughter was born. And the first moment I laid my eyes on her, I was like, this kid's either going to see me dead or in jail. And I can't have either of that. Not if I want to be better than my family. I wanted to be a good father. And that's what changed everything. I quit everything. I quit the people I was talking to. I quit the drugs. I quit drinking for 1.5 years. I quit. It was 3 years. I quit drinking for 3 years. And I quit everything and changed my entire life around. And it was a lot harder than I thought after that.
Yeah. Yeah. What was your cleanup routine kind of like? Did you get any professional help?
Not right away. I got the help of a large, mean man. I told him, it was the biggest dude I knew. He was a good friend of mine. Was for years and years and years. I told him, I'm going to lock myself in a room and don't let me out until I'm okay. And, throw a cheeseburger in every now and then. And that's what happened for 4 days. I was in a room with a blanket, a pillow, and a bucket. Those are my friends. And I was in there for 4 days. 4 days going through the DTs, going detoxing and going through withdrawal, and it was fucking hell. And I got punched more than a few times trying to get out. But it cleaned me up. And to his benefit, not benefit, to his, I can't think of a word I'm saying right now. He stood out there for 4 days. He slept on the floor. He had a mattress on the floor outside the door. He took it seriously. And when I tried getting out, breaking out windows and shit, he barred up the window. And he beat the snot out of me until I was back in that room. And for 4 days, I cleaned my ass up. He always reminded me, too, it's for her. It's for your kid. You're going to do this for your kid. You're going to be good for your kid. And then I got my ass kicked. And that's what cleaned me up. And then later on, to help, I did end up getting professional help, psychiatrists. I'm talking so much, I'm putting my cigarettes out. Psychiatrists, group meetings, and through NA and AA and things like that. But no, my withdrawal and detox get clean routine was lock myself in a room and get beat up.
Yeah. From what you know about the system and from what you know about how that went, do you think that you've been able to detox in a professional environment?
Not a chance. Not a chance. The problem with a professional environment like that is, and in my opinion, it's too loose. There's no one there to stop you. They can talk to you, but no one's going to stop you. If you want to do it, you're going to do it. And that's not saying it's not for there are millions of people who used detox centers and treatment places to get clean. Me personally, not a chance. I was way too strong-willed for that. And the demon had his claws in me way too much. If I wanted to get high, I was going to get high. And no one was going to stop me, except for a big 330-pound dude. He stopped me. And that's what I needed. I wouldn't have gotten clean in any professional environment because they had those kinds of standards. They couldn't, punch me in the mouth and send me back to my room.
No. I think even after a certain amount of time, like they have to let you leave, unless you're like a threat to other people or yourself. Like I don't.
Threat to yourself or others. If you want to leave, you leave. Mm-hmm. They could try to talk you down, but you're not going to listen. Someone like me, I'm not going to listen. I'm going to do what I want to do.
Yeah.
Fortunately, I've kept that throughout all my life. Rules are bendable.
What kind of advice would you give to someone who is a family member or loved one of someone going through this?
Understanding it's not their fault. If you have someone going through it, looking from the outside, what you see is a person being a creep, stealing from you or lying to you. Addiction at that magnitude it's akin to a whole other personality. Like they call it a monkey on your back. It's like it's King fucking Kong is what it is. And he wants what he wants and he won't get what he wants. And if that means I am going to rob you, my best friends, well, I guess I have to rob you. Understand it's not really their fault. I mean, the addiction part is their fault. It's a choice to get addicted. But once they're addicted, that demon's going to tell you what to do, and you can't stop it. So understand that it's really not their fault at this point. They're craving what they're craving and do any way to get it. The best way I've always been able to analogize a jonesing is try drowning yourself. Stick your head in a tub of water. After 2 minutes, you start getting a little panicky and going, oh God, this is starting to hurt. Just before you start blacking out, there is a reaction in your brain that will do absolutely anything. You'll crawl over your grandmother for oxygen. That's what addiction is like. That feeling right there is what a Jones is like. That's what a craving is like. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's just understand that what they're going through is extreme. And and they're not going to get better without help and without, most important thing I believe is hope. You're going to need hope that there is something, hope that they can get better, hope that they're going to have friends. You don't feel like a whole person when you're addicted. The only time you feel like a whole person is when you're high, or you just don't care if you're only half a person. You don't have the hope that things are going to get better. There's no reason to quit. I'm going to enjoy my cloud much more than I'm going to like working at McDonald's. So I'm going to go back to my cloud. But people need hope and support. So the best advice I can give someone is stay positive, understand that what they're going through is really beyond their control, and give them love and support and hope.
Yeah. When it comes to your struggle, and like a lot of your friend groups seem to live lifestyles that promote the things that you wanted to escape from. So were there communities that you found an outreach in?
Europe.
Yeah.
When I was quitting, I couldn't get away from it. I couldn't be in Hamilton because all my friends in Hamilton were just junkies or dealers or whatever. I had to get away from the scene. So I moved to like Toronto. I moved to Mississauga. I even moved as far as Listowel. But I always kept either finding people I knew, influenced, or gravitating towards. It was familiar. It was comfortable. So I had nowhere to go. And so what I did literally was I sold everything I could, except for a backpack filled with clothes and my DM's handbook. For some reason, I kept my player's handbook, my DMG, and my monster manual. Always kept those. Like second edition.
You'll need them.
Well, yeah. You never know when it's time to start rolling, you know?
Exactly.
I always kept those. And I dropped like $170 at the GO station in Hamilton and said, the next bus that this will take me, get me away. And then I ended up in PEI. Here's a fun part of the story now. After being clean, I ended up in PEI, and I wasn't done yet. I got bit by the wanderlust bug, and I knew there was something beyond that big blue that I'd never experienced, and I never thought I would, so I want to go there. I found a cruise ship that went from PEI to Italy, and just did that. And I walked up and I started like talking to people, like, where do I find someone who hires, blah, 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 blah. And I literally told them my story. I gave them a condensed version of what I'm giving you.
Yeah.
And they were like, yeah, sure. Like, we'll give you a job. You're just trying to, make yourself better. Sure, we'll give you a job. So for 2 weeks, I kind of did this across the big blue. And sorry, it was 1 week. Something like that. But I was just mopping. I was a deckhand. I was mopping up rich people's puke for a while. And when we got to Italy, the person who was paying me gave me $2,500 US and said, here you go. Good luck. And coupling that with the money I made from selling all my magic cards, that basically helped me out for about 7 years touring Europe and ending up in Japan. I left Hamilton when I was 22. I came back to Toronto when I was 29.
Amazing. And you were clean the whole time?
I was clean the entire time. I was sober for the first 3 years. And then I hit Denmark and Sweden. And those fuckers can drink. It was nearing Oktoberfest, and oh my, I had to take part in that. And I got so drunk. Yeah. But yeah, I was clean the entire time. I've never had a relapse. I've had cravings. I've had wanting. It's a daily struggle. Like, I would love to be high right now doing this. I would be a laugh a minute. I would be a laugh riot or so, I think. I'd probably just, I think I'd be hilarious. It was a daily struggle. Always is. Always is. But no, I was always been clean. I never had a relapse. Smoked a couple of joints. And like, now that marijuana is legal here, I tried it again a couple of times, but I believe I developed an allergy to it, and that's a whole other long story.
Okay. Yeah, I actually have heard of that happening with people who just like who smoked it when they were younger. I have no research on it. It's just something I've noticed with people that I know who smoked when they were younger who just can't now. And I'm just like, cool. I didn't start smoking weed till I was in late high school, grade 12. I tried it for the first time, and then
what you're supposed to.
Yeah.
Yeah. It makes me physically ill, like green in the face and nauseous and vomiting. Like, it makes me physically ill now.
Yeah.
Whether that's psychosomatic or not, I don't know.
Yeah. Either way, it sounds like a bad time. Would not recommend.
Nope. 0 out of 10 will not recommend.
So I want to go back in time on the timeline and touch back on your time on the streets. What was the event that brought you there?
Well, running away from home was my first start. And as much as I was paying rent at 14, I wasn't doing it very well or in good places. I kept on getting evicted or running away, like midnight moves or whatnot. And I just I needed a place to stay one night. I went down to the Salvation Army in downtown Hamilton, and they gave me a bus ticket to Mississauga to a place called Our Place Peel, which is a youth hostel, youth homeless shelter. And that's what started that. So I was living rent free for a while. Living on the streets, going from shelter to shelter in Toronto. I was at Our Place Peel, Turning Point, Horizons, did a stint at Covenant House, and YWS Youth Without Shelter. There were these, but mainly it was Turning Point, YWS, and Horizons that I mainly went to. But sometimes if they're full, I'm sleeping in a bus shelter. There was a point in time in the summer. I have a lousy memory for dates or anything like that. Way too much drugs. There was a point in time in the summer, I remember I was living in a bus shelter. Like, I had all my shit packed up in a corner of the bus shelter, and the bench there was, this was before they had the divider in the middle to stop this now. That was my bed. And I would be very aggressive when anyone tried to use my house. So living on the streets until I was, basically until I was 29. Like, when I was traveling, I didn't have anything resembling home. It was just this person's place to this person's place to this hostel to this barn to this building I can sneak into.
Yeah, so like even in like the era of like when you had your daughter and everything, you weren't staying with the mom, or?
No, we had broken up years before. I was with her mom for on and off for 7 years, but more often on near the end. And I couldn't. She was living with her parents, who hated me, probably justifiably. So I couldn't stay there. And whenever I did visit them before that, there was a couple of apartment buildings I could easily get into and go up to the top stairs where the roof access was, and I'd sleep there. Or in the basement. Sometimes I found a utility room, and utility rooms are like rarely used unless something goes bad, so I'd sleep in utility room. My backpack was filled with clothes. It was a good pillow. And that was essentially 14 until 25 when I started actually finding places and hostels and like looking like I was mature enough and not going to rob somebody, that when I knocked on some strange European's house and said, I'll do farm work for a place to stay, they started sleeping in barns.
Yeah.
They had worker areas for like seasonal workers that did just that. Dorms for like seasonal workers.
Yeah. There's so much stigma around people who are homeless. What is something that like what's some kind of preconceived notion that you just would be easier if it were to go away?
God, I'd love to give you that.
Give me the what, sorry?
I would love to answer that. It's as gnarly as you see. In my experience, I can't think of something I wish would go away other than, I guess, the lazy bum go get a job thing. Love to. Love to get a job. You know that part where it says address? You need one of those to fill that out. Because as soon as they see a resume or an application with NFA, no fixed address, next, you get looked over a lot. It's not the long-term homeless guy that's the worst part. He's just come to accept that and making the best of a bad situation. It's the new homeless person. It's the one who's trying still, who has that hope, who's trying to make ends meet, who's trying to hopefully find a place and get a job before the machine crunches them down and just spits them out. That's the worst part of it. I got lucky. Like, through a lot of this, I got lucky. I got lucky that I had the incentive of, fuck it, I'm just going to go. Well, I don't need to stay here. It's not like I got rent to pay. Next town. But longer in life, you live out there, and I've seen this. The longer in life you live out there, it's just the more you go back to substance abuse or drinking, and you just accept it. So at that point in time, the stigma you think of is really real. It's there's no getting a job at that point. Like, not unless you go through like an Elizabeth Fry Society or something huge happens. Anything we can think of about these people are pretty much the way it is.
I think I'd say like maybe like the dangerousness, like obviously like there's someone might rob you kind of like if they're desperate enough situation.
I lost lots
that's not true of absolutely everyone. And I think like that's probably the most like full of just like I think, I don't know, being treated like a human being is nice. But I also like I'm also like, I understand being skeptical and nervous around someone when you can tell that they're not well. So
that's interesting. It's not your point. If it's not nailed down, someone's gonna steal it. When you go to bed, like I lost shoes at youth hostels, and my backpack got like if I didn't have a locker or I wasn't sleeping on it or wasn't in my bed, it was going away. That's was kind of the law of the land. If it's not in your vicinity, it's free.
Yeah. And in that kind of like lifestyle and dynamic, it's just how it is. And it's just like, I guess I just mean it as like, I look at that kind of theft as a different level, like theft out of desperation or theft out of just like when you're 16 and car hopping. Like,
yeah, there's a big difference.
Yeah.
Stealing to eat, stealing to stay warm. Yeah, big difference.
That's why
I read that.
You never did? Wow, it was like
I never did that one. I never did in my life. I never went car hopping with anyone.
That was a hobby. Like that's just what the kids did. Like I will you know, Scout's honor. I never did it myself, but I would be with people who would do it. So it's just like you're why, and everyone's just like, oh, let's cut through the parking lot, and everyone just starts trying door handles, and it's just like I got literal karma for this because someone in my car a few months ago and stole my niece's Nintendo Switch.
Oh wow!
So, yeah, but I got it back because of a stop and frisk, and I'm just like, oh, I hate those. But I'm grateful that I got it back.
Yeah. No. I never went car hopping. Like I said, by group, never did anything to personal property. Robbed enough stores, but never like broke into cars or anything like that. And I guess that is karma. The one time I've ever had my car broken into, the only thing they stole was my USB adapter and a cable.
Yeah, I had a protein shake stolen, my points card, a handful of change, and and they dumped. I had a bag filled with board games, and they were just like dumped about. And I was like, those are probably worth more than the Switch. Like,
yeah,
big bag. So
they dumped a sandwich on my driver's seat. That was the worst thing that happened. I had to clean that up. But yeah. I never went car hopping, never broke into cars.
Yeah. We all have our things. I was a bad kid, I guess. I was a bad good kid. But that's whatever.
Look, you're talking to.
Who am I talking to? I was okay. I feel like I'm from like a level of just like I don't want to say like I'm from like a level above you, but like everyone like I said, like I have people like in my family who have like history of drug use. I have like it was like my first laptop was hot, as my mom put it, because she bought it from someone that she knew. I probably shouldn't be telling the story, but anyway, my mom bought it from someone that she knew who worked with a kid who broke into people's houses, stole their laptops, brought it to the person that she knew. He would fix them up and then resell them.
I probably do some of the same people.
Yeah, that's what I mean. When I'm just like I know your stories, I know what you're talking about, because I was like the good kid in that circle of just like, I don't think car hopping is right, but I'm not going to tell you not to do it.
Yeah, there's a few. We had a couple in our circle as well. The ones who were the scared, who were just like, "Oh my god, this is so exhilarating!" It's like, fucking shut up, go along with it. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm good. I obey the law.
Unless someone else, unless the guy besides is breaking it.
Yeah, I'm guilty by association, really.
Yep. They call that accomplice.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, I have no right to like even like I'm bad. I'm like whatever. What if it is good and bad? Stick it to the man. I'm sure the person
trying to take away yours.
Yeah, I'm sure the person who owned my laptop before I got it deserved to have it stolen.
Absolutely. Or at least we can tell ourselves that to go to sleep. Next question.
Yeah. Speaking of that, do you have any criminal convictions or anything?
Oh boy. Yes.
Yeah.
Were you prompted to ask this question, I must ask?
No.
All right. Get comfy.
Get comfy, okay.
I have one thing on my criminal record.
Okay.
That is a charge of assault and sexual assault.
Okay.
This happened because of a girl I was dating. And right now, everybody who knows me who's watching this are just going, oh yeah, bitch. See, I am one of the few people that the justice system failed. Mm-hmm. I was charged with assault and generic random sexual assaults through the course of this relationship. This was 3 years after we had broken up, and it was just a cry for attention and playing victim during the Me Too chapter of time, during the time when women just could say something and you were automatically guilty until proven guilty. Whoa, just broke my damn chair. Still going on largely. So I got charged. No specifics, just a count of assault and multiple counts of sexual assault. No specifics. We get into court. I get a lawyer. I am in the BDSM community, and everything I do is consensual. Is sane and consensual. And thankfully, I beat most of the raps because my lawyer was awesome and fucking matlocked a contract that the girl had signed and said, "Oh, it's not consensual. Then why is this your name?" However, I pled guilty to a certain sexual assault. Here's what the interesting part. In 2015, I can't remember who it was exactly, but like the lawmakers reinterpreted the consent laws. Now, what this meant was that if at any point in time during a sexual encounter or before a sexual encounter, if a person was unable to give consent, then consent was not given or it was taken away. For example, if you're into some kinky stuff, okay, and your girl likes to be choked, or your guy or your Sorry, that was an old person slip up. And your partner likes to be, let's say, choked. Let's say they like being choked into unconsciousness because they really like the euphoric feeling of waking up. And that could be orgasmic. So you've discussed this, and during a consensual encounter, and even a consensual 2.5-year relationship, if your partner likes being choked into unconsciousness while you continue performing sexual acts, that's sexual assault. Because at that point in time, consent was not able to be given, so it was revoked. So when I admitted to that, amongst one other thing, that's sexual assault. So I said, shit, well, I'm guilty of that. Like, I didn't know it was sexual assault. I didn't know what we were doing was breaking the law. What I knew what we were doing was a consensual act between two people.
Yeah.
Also, I'm going to ask this of everybody. And I asked this of everybody when I try to explain this. Have you ever been given a very interesting and enjoyable wake up? You know, little slap and tickle, a little kissing and nudging, a little, you know what I mean? That's sexual assault. Because when that person started, you were unable to give consent. Or other way around, when you started, that person was able to give consent. That's sexual assault. And that's what I pled guilty to. I have a criminal record for waking up my girlfriend while going down on her.
Huh.
Interesting, huh?
Yeah, that's something, because that's something that who isn't a fan of? That's a very common thing that I've. Okay.
It's sexual assault. I am on. Sorry.
I was just gonna say, in my experience, whenever I've had that kind of arrangement with a partner, it's we would discuss, especially because I do have a history of that having happened to me in a non-consensual way. So all of my partners are aware of that and aware that because of that, my reception of it varies. So it's something that I can be like, hey, I'm feeling this kind of way, so I'm sure in the morning, go for it. Or if I'm just if I can just tell, oh, I'm tense and I'm stressed and I'm probably gonna have bad dreams, so if something touches me, it probably won't go well. So it's just that open line of communication that is continuous, and I'm gonna look into this and do some research because wow.
In 2015, someone reevaluated the consent laws, and I am on the Sexual Offenders Act for 20 years, or the Sexual Offenders List for 20 years because of it.
Huh.
I can't get a job. I'm having a hard time finding a job because they do a background check and they see sexual assault. And that carries a whole other stigma.
Yeah. I'm always seeing services for getting criminal convictions off. Are those real? Is that something that can be done? Can you get an appeal?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm going to apply for a pardon in 5 years, but the problem is I can't do it for 5 years. There's a timeline on these. You see these ex-coppers or whatever, and they're just appellate lawyers. It's a full thing. I don't know. I haven't gone through it personally, but I don't see much of scamming in the way of that. But yeah, they just happen to know the law, know how to get around the law, know how to say that we can change this. But it's not magical. They got to follow the laws. I've researched the shit out of this. How long do I have to do this for? I can apply for a pardon in 5 years. And that's the best I can hope for. I can't appeal it specifically. We kind of have a different justice system than what people see on TV. You can't just run into an appeals court. But the long and the short of it is I'm stuck. Radical acceptance says I'm a sex offender for the next 5 years because of that. which was like the ultimate kick in the face after everything I've gone through. I'm trying to clean up my life, and I was doing good, and I had a job I liked, and then I'm a sex offender.
Yeah. I'm so sorry. Like I'm at a loss of words right now for this. Wow.
The reason I asked that if you were prompted to that is because a mutual friend, Rebecca, knows the story and is just as angry about it, and believes like my story should be told. Like that should be out there. Like the justice system needs to be fixed. Like,
yeah, absolutely.
Get your laws out of my bed sheets, for God's sakes.
Yeah, I think when it comes to around things like that, there's no stamp for what, like, it's just every situation, every circumstance is unique and to be evaluated separately. There's no just cut and dry of just, oh, well, this looked like this, and according to this.
Unfortunately, that's the way the justice system sees it. There's no gray. It's black and white. You're guilty or not.
Yeah, they literally train you to view things as serial numbers instead of as humanity, as people, as different things that are happening. Like every circumstance affects everything that happens.
Yep. I was just case number LA09873. And yeah, when I was talking to my lawyer about it, we discussed that, and it was better for me to plead guilty and accept it than to plead not guilty and try to fight it. Because if I pled not guilty and tried to fight it, I would be in prison right now.
Oh.
As it is, I was under house arrest for 4 months and I'm on 18 months of probation. Because I got lucky with the judge who was like, wait a minute, this is stupid. Why are we doing this? We're going to change the rules. They tried to change the rules. They worked around. They did not want to put me in prison because of my history, because I had worked myself to where I am. And they felt that like putting me in jail or in prison would just be stepping backwards, and that's dumb.
Because the prison system doesn't work.
And the system doesn't work. It make me worse. I just joked around in private. I just have reunion with all my friends. But so I got lucky with the fact that they didn't want to put me in prison, which pissed off my ex to no end, since she had an episode in the court of how traumatizing it was. It's fucking hilarious. Yeah, but if I had pled innocent and had to fight this because I admitted to doing something that was considered a sexual assault, they would have to put me in like minimum 90 days, and I wasn't going to like Barton Street detention. I was going to penitentiary. I was going to prison under protective custody, which everyone knows in prison what that means. You go to PC, it's because you're a rapist or if I didn't plead guilty and accept the fact that I'm going to be a sex offender for the next at least 5 to 20 years, I'd probably be dead within 5. Like the system is broken in that regard. But anyway, that was a really fun question.
Yeah, that was the system's broken, jail doesn't work, and clearly people are aware of that if they're actively avoiding sending you there. So that's nice to know.
Yeah, to some extent.
People in the system doesn't work, because I guess like some people do want to be that good person that changes the system, but holy hell, do we have to like reboot it?
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, that's my story for that question. Everything story.
Yeah, we are at that we're at that point where I'm actually out of questions, because you do that thing where you answer my questions before I ask them.
What a shitty guest I am.
You're just too thorough with your answers. You tell me too many details.
There's more.
Yeah, I know there's more for you to say. So I just want to like do a blank, I guess like a blank question. If I were to ask and you wanted to, like, do you have a story? Do you have any stories left that you just really want to share that you maybe haven't shared or you were hoping to share? Or like just a story to leave us off with?
I'll see if I can find something positive.
Oh, exciting.
Okay, I gotta, living through the life I lived, it wasn't always negative. There were some really, I found myself in some really interesting situations that cool shit came out of. I think one of the most fun ones was meeting Christopher Walken in an elevator in Las Vegas.
Wow.
Yep, I was in a hotel and I was gambling a lot, and I went down. I went into the elevator, and in walks Christopher Walken with like 2 or 3 other people, like his handler and security and shit like that. And I'm just like, I've never been starstruck, and I'm not a gushy person. So I'm just like back in the corner, just mind my own business. He just wants to fucking go get breakfast. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I'm just like, I'm like, fucking Christopher fucking Walken, man. And he looks at me and goes, "You want to say it, so just say it." And I like, wait, "You're the creepiest motherfucker I've ever seen." In a good way. That was my 10 seconds with Christopher Walken.
Oh, I'm sure he might. I think he might remember that too. I was.
He was cool about it. He was like, you want to say, you want to say hi or something. And I looked at him like, "You're the creepiest motherfucker I've ever seen in my life."
Oh, wow.
Good way.
What was his face? Oh my goodness.
Sorry?
What was his face like? Like, just like,
he didn't know whether to laugh or punch me. No, he chuckled. He just kind of giggled, and then the doors opened, and thankfully I was left out of that embarrassing situation. He just kind of went, "Thanks," and walked away, and I'm not sure if he meant thanks for me or thanks that he can get the fuck out.
That's awesome.
That was just for Walken's story.
That is a great story. Thank you so much. So before we close out, do you want to drop all your gamer tags that I will also add links to? That way people can follow you and find out who you are.
Yes, I do Twitch streaming and Facebook streaming, but not so much Twitch. Twitch.tv/thehellgamer, spelled GAMR. I stream pretty much nightly, all night, specializing in horror video games and chatting and giving things away. Yeah, twitch.tv/thehellgamer, spelled GAMR. That's my video.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming out and enjoying the show. And it's been so nice hearing this story, especially knowing that I am simultaneously the first and second person to have given you the chance to tell it. So,
It's been cool. Thank you very much for having me. It's an awkward situation that just some weird wrong side of the tracks junkie gets to do something like this.
Yeah, I'm so glad to be able to give you a platform. I think your story is so interesting, and I hope that it inspires at least one person, because that's really cool, right? At least one, right. But like, who's gonna deny or complain about more? All right, so we are going to sign off. This has been Serious and Sober. I am Rae Lockdust.
And I'm Brad McLeod.
And remember, everyone, don't be a dick.